Hello everyone and welcome back into the NONA studio for yet another edition of the NONA Sports Show. I am your host as always, Edgar Rodriguez, joined alongside Patrick Deleon as per usual, my friend. We thought a little bit outside the box for this one. We went a little more creative with the segments. We'll, of course, start with NONA News. We'll, of course, cover the Champions League quarterfinals and preview those. Those start in just a little under 48 hours. I'm almost shaking, Patrick.
Yes,
I've been on edge
exciting
this morning.
matchups. Yes, I'm not missing these for once.
And then, worst signings in history, Patrick. We went through the archives.
Yes, we did.
And came up with a little list of our own about the worst signings that we've seen in football history, okay? So, lots to cover today.
Yes.
But let's start locally, Patrick. Let's start with the, we've had some champions recently be crowned. And we're going to start with 2014 Black, coached by Coach Terry. State champions at the Commissioner's Cup. We talked about them winning in Region B.
Yes.
They went a step above. Unbelievable
State
performance.
champions. Yes, absolutely. It's like every week we're in that groove, we're in that celebratory mood, right? We're winning something every single weekend, it feels like. That's how things should be. Yes. That's how things are around here. That's how we work.
That's right.
It's beautiful. I love it. Not only 2014 Black, but we also have 2011
Coach Marcelo
boys.
with 2011 Boys Black, like you said, Elite 64 on the national stage. Of course, National League Elite 64. They also finished on top of the group, and we kind of had our eye on them. We were like, okay, they might actually have a chance, and we'll have a chance to shout them out.
Yeah, earlier on in the season, we saw how good they were doing as well.
And it got confirmed. They kept that going for the whole season.
Yeah, so these two teams locking in those achievements, huge congratulations to everybody involved.
Absolutely.
Huge, huge, huge. I love it. That's what we want to see. Absolutely.
Incredible, and that gears us up beautifully because this coming weekend, this is the Central Florida Classic right in our backyard at Austin Tyndall Park. This weekend is going to be full of football at AT, and especially these two teams, but all of our other NONA teams and all the teams coming from outside of Orlando. It's an exciting tournament, and it's going to be high-level competition.
Yeah, and again, this is always one of those dates that you look on the calendar that you look forward to every year.
Absolutely.
Another opportunity for us to showcase our talent, see how we can step up or compare it to all these other teams that are going to come on over here to Lake Nona. It's going to be super exciting time, super exciting weekend.
Yeah, and we've already had a taste of that, of course, NONA Cup. We've had this previously, and now April is going to ramp up like we previewed last week. April comes thick and fast. We have this, we have Easter Cup, we have USLA Cup as well, and so it just ramps up from here. And I think that's good, right? You reach your stride. It's almost the end of the season for the academy teams. Of course, the tryouts are at end of May, and it's important to stay at that level, consistent play, trying to just stay ready to go for this next season, which is, again, especially with the introduction of MLS Next, with the introduction of all these higher level leagues and competitions, you need to finish out strong.
Oh, of course. And show that you belong.
Absolutely.
You absolutely belong there, right? So next season, we're already kind of looking ahead at it.
Absolutely.
But it's going to come around quick.
It is.
The time goes by super fast, and I'm sure all of these players have their eyes on that, hoping to make that move, right? Proving that they can be at that level. It's going to be very, very exciting to see what happens.
Absolutely. And not just the players, but the parents as well, actually.
And coaches.
Yeah, and coaches.
Everybody.
Everyone involved. This past week, we had the MLS Next New Tier Orientation. And at a middle school nearby, Innovation Middle School, obviously. And, all the parents were there. It completely packed out the gym. Fabio gave his orientation, and it was incredible to see the excitement on everyone's faces because they understand that,
the magnitude of this.
As a club, this is not just a little or a normal step up. This is monumental.
This is probably as high as it gets.
Absolutely.
I can't think of... Arguably, that's at the top of the pyramid.
Of youth
of
football?
Youth soccer,
absolutely.
that's at the top of the pyramid. You're going to be playing against the likes of MLS academies week in, week out. And of course, every other club that's not necessarily affiliated with an MLS team, they're all there for a reason. This is going to be extremely competitive, and it's exciting to see that the players and parents are excited for this opportunity to come through because they understand that this is also another potential pathway to pro for them.
100%. 100%. It's so exciting. Everything just going on at once, it feels like, at the moment. So keep your eyes out because, like we said, Central Florida Classic, we're going to absolutely take over the Insta stories as we always do for these competitions. It's going to be very exciting. As we do, we always keep an eye on the summer, right? USL 2 quickly approaching, and a new signing has been unveiled. And, yeah, easy for me to say. And he looks incredible. Abdou Mane from Montverde Academy plays his college stuff at Clemson.
One of the top college schools for soccer. Just a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Clemson, they're always up there in terms of national news for NCAA soccer. Clemson is up there, so this is a great player to bring back here to Lake Nona.
And funnily enough, Mason Lamb, now playing at Clemson, was part of the 2024 squad. Yes. Didn't see out the whole season because he had other things going on, especially visiting colleges, visiting clubs. But is this a little bit of a pattern now? Clemson and Nona collab. We're both orange.
Right.
So I guess it's meant to be. But Abdou Mane looks like such a quality addition to that midfield, and we've talked about this time and time again. It's going to be difficult to replace Ivan and Alon.
Of course.
Of course, the legendary, the iconic partnership that they became last season. But it looks like we're on a good trajectory. Coach Bruno has identified top players already.
Oh yes, the squad is looking dangerous. I'm loving what I'm seeing. It's all coming together slowly but surely. And I can only imagine who else we bring in the near future as well to finish up and fill in those final few spots. But yes, Clemson Tigers, they have a great one on their hands. Now we do too for the summer, so this is going to be super exciting.
It's going to be great. Like we've said plenty of times, USL 2 gearing up towards that. It's almost that time. Next week, a little surprise getting unveiled here again, but we're going to have our Director of Operations, Danny, hopefully join us on the show. He's, of course, been a part of the podcast previously, but he's going to come on the show, kind of give us a little lowdown on USL 2 and what the level brings. So stay tuned for that next week. But sticking on this show, that finishes up our first segment because, like we talked about, 4 Champions League fixtures to preview. My goodness, Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be glued to our TV, so stay tuned as we preview those after this.
Turn your pool into paradise with Migaloo Pool Services. At Migaloo Pool Services, we know that your pool is much more than just a recreational space. Strategically situated to serve Lake Nona, St. Cloud, Kissimmee, and Orlando areas, we specialize in pool cleaning, equipment repairs, and pool remodeling, ensuring that your pool is always spotless and functional. We are proud to serve all Nona Soccer Academy customers with personalized discounts and services that adapt to their needs and schedules. Don't leave your pool on the back burner and get with Migaloo Pool Services today so you can transform your pool into a true paradise. With Migaloo Pool Services, every dive will be an amazing experience.
All right, and just like that, we're back for segment 2, and it's an exciting one because Champions League is well and truly back. We're down to the last 8, the best 8 in Europe this season. And we're going to start with the first one on Tuesday. Well, they're at the same time, but we have to start with one. Bayern Inter, atop of both respective leagues clash, you can say. First in Serie A against first in the Bundesliga. This is a tricky one for Bayern, I think, because, of course, in the round of 16, we said, they're coming up against the Leverkusen side, of course, defending their German title. But Bayern made easy work of them, but I think Inter is a step up when we're talking about level of competition this season.
Oh, absolutely. Especially you see how they've done in Champions League play. How many clean sheets have they had so far?
8 and 10.
8 and 10.
8 and 10.
That is, for Champions League, that's unreal. Inter, I think, have silently become one of those real contenders to win this year. And Bayern, I mean, they've looked a bit shaky at times. I think about the game they had, the series against Celtic, right? This is Celtic. Like, it's Bayern.
Right, you expect it to be
a more of a blowout. Exactly. But it was really close until the end. Only saving grace from that was Alphonso Davies knocking it in at the end of the game, knocking Celtic out, right? So, of course, you have Harry Kane. Harry Kane, always consistently one of the world's best strikers, right? But this is an Inter side that has that defense locked down. They don't let anything through. How can Bayern find a way to squeeze through that defense? I'm not sure. I don't think they have enough.
I just had a light bulb moment because Jamal Musiala is going to miss out on this. And we kind of, like, going back to that Leverkusen fixture, Florian Wirtz was out. Leverkusen were already done, 3-0 in the first leg, but not having Wirtz kind of cemented that. Not having Musiala for Bayern is going to be detrimental because he is their star boy. We talk about Saka being Arsenal's star boy. Musiala is Bayern's star boy. He is their guy. And, man, missing out on this huge clash, I mean, this would have probably been some of the biggest games he's been a part of. We know he shines under the bright lights.
For sure.
They're going to have to lean on the likes of Michael Olise. Having a great season. Leroy Sané, finally, kind of coming out of his shell that we've seen him hide under for much of his time at City and also at the start for Bayern. But, of course, Harry Kane is going to be the guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be the guy, especially given the fact that Bayern has defensive injuries as well. Davies and Upamecano out. It's a little tough for company in Bayern.
It is, and I just don't think, unfortunately for Bayern, that's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough for this Inter side that consistently have been one of Europe's best teams in recent times. Of course, they made the Champions League final not too long ago. Yeah. And they're first in Serie A. They seem to be holding on to that lead pretty well. But, I mean, I think the focal point here is the defense. Yeah. The defense is what is winning them these games in dominating fashion. And Lautaro Martinez also having another great year, as he always does. But, man, I don't see Bayern going through at all.
It's tough.
It's going to be close.
It is. I think it's going to be one of those where there's a goal that decides it.
Yeah.
In the second leg, late on.
It's
going to be cagey. Bayern, of course, know they like to play expansive stuff.
Of course.
High line. But they're going to have to be careful against this Inter side. Martinez was a doubt. Looks like he's going to be okay to start this one alongside Thuram, who up top, I don't know if you saw a fluke goal he scored in Serie A. Didn't really celebrate. His famous father in the stands was kind of like, what is this?
Yes.
Just go back, restart the game. Lilian Thuram, of course. But, like, Inter, when we talk about playing three at the back, Inter have to be one of the best teams, not just in Europe, but in the world.
That do that, yeah. It's because,
that's
them.
For them.
That is their identity in the back.
Yep.
3 in the back, and it works wonders for them.
Yeah.
So I do have them going through to the semifinals.
It's tough. I mean, it's hard for me to go against Bayern, especially now that we went against them, against Leverkusen. I think Bayern, despite their injuries, might just edge out. It's
going to be one of those very, very close games. I could see a total aggregate scoreline of like a 3-2, 2-1. It'll be, again, like you said, a goal that decides and separates them.
I'm only inching towards Bayern 55-45 at the moment. It is so close. Very hard to call.
Yes.
For the first one. Can we say the same about the second game that we're talking about? Arsenal against Real Madrid. Now, Patrick, I don't know if I'm going to sleep tonight. This is so incredible, not just for the club, because we were talking about also off air the worst teams we've seen in terms of the teams we support, and we were talking about COVID-era Arsenal, and it's almost surprising that some of those players put on the famous red and white of the club. I mean, let's just be real. But now, it feels like that was a whole lifetime ago.
Oh, yeah,
this team
completely
has
revamped.
No fingerprints of that past tough times for Arsenal. Of course, it's Real Madrid. Of course, it's Champions League. That goes without saying. How much of a chance are you giving us, I'll say us, in this huge
very low
fixture? Really?
And I say it's low because if Arsenal want to come out on top for this match, right? They're playing in the Emirates, the first leg.
Leg.
They have to get a result.
Yeah.
They have to, whether it's just a draw or win, they have to get a result.
I agree.
If they don't get a result, Arsenal are in trouble because they do not want to play at the Bernabeu down. You know?
Yeah.
So, Edgar.
It's crucial first leg.
It is absolutely. I think this tie is determined in this first leg. And I know you like praising Saka. I know you... He's a great winger. Yeah. I do like him, but I don't think he's enough. He just won't be enough.
We disagreed on this last week. I do think, like one chance, Saka cutting in on that left foot, Patrick.
Yeah, very dangerous. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just gonna leave it there. I think he can be a game changer. Something that does worry me is the fact that Gabriel went down with a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
And it's one of those seasons where it seems like if it's not one, it's the other for us.
Of course.
In terms of being out. Saka just came back from 3 months out from a hamstring injury, which requires surgery. On his first game back, Gabriel goes down with the same exact injury. It's going to need surgery. If you tell me Saka is in there and we have our full strength back four, our midfield solid, Odegaard, Thomas, Rice, I'm happy. Marino up top, we know he's kind of, had to step in there, emergency striker, but hey, he's found goals.
It's been working out, yeah.
From wherever it comes from, he's found goals. Then I'm more optimistic, but now that Gabriel is out, Kivior is going to have to step in, and Kivior has the weight of the world on his shoulders to keep out the likes of Vinny, Mbappe, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Valverde. I probably missed a couple. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But for Real Madrid, we know they haven't had the best of times recently. They just lost at home against Valencia.
4 points behind Barcelona now.
Now they are 4 points behind, like you said. Valencia hadn't won away this whole season in La Liga. And they did it at the Bernabeu.
Right at the end of the game.
Now, of course, we drew away at Everton, which, whatever, right? It's not like we did much better this weekend. But I'm holding on to a little bit of hope, Patrick.
Of course. Again,
a little bit of hope. Especially since if we continue looking at the recent results for Madrid, 4-4 against Sociedad, again, it's kind of hopeful on our side. But yeah, I mean, objectively, if you push me to say who's going to go through, of course, Real Madrid. I mean, Champions League. It's the obvious answer.
It's got to be Real Madrid.
It's going to take an upset, a massive one at that, for us to go through. It really is.
It is. But again, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think we'll get murdered. I don't think it'll be a 3-goal win for Real Madrid.
I think it'll be a close one. Yeah. Also, it'll be one of those. Again, for me, the key is just Arsenal need to get a result. If they can get a result at home, they have a real good shot.
Yeah.
Away.
I'm just parking the bus at the Bernabeu.
That's all you gotta do.
That's all.
It doesn't matter how you win. It's all that matters is that you do win.
Yeah.
So if Saka can truly turn up at home against Madrid, slide one past Courtois, you've got a real shot at going to the semifinals.
And it's funny because thinking back to last season, of course, Arsenal faced Bayern in the quarterfinals, got edged out because that draw at the Emirates, when we could have easily done with the win there. Could have easily beaten Bayern on that night. Didn't get the result we needed. Saka scored on that night, by the way. Anyway, and then you go to the Allianz, of course, for Arsenal. It's a traumatic place.
Very, very. I wonder why.
Let's leave it there. We're not going to open those memories. But it's literally the same thing for us this season. Yeah. Because the Bernabeu is a fortress.
That's like the last place you ever want to play at.
Right, and especially in Champions League.
I
feel like Real Madrid forget about everything else that's happening outside, and when it's Champions League, they become the monster.
Completely different team.
Yeah.
Completely different team. Yeah. It's unreal how they do that consistently, year in, year out.
Wow.
But
wow. So we're saying Real Madrid.
I have to say Real Madrid. But that can change if Arsenal get a result. I know that sounds a bit vague, but that's the reality, I think. Arsenal, if they get that result that they need, even if it's a 0-0 draw, take it and run with it.
Yeah.
Because the Bernabeu is waiting, and that'll be the real test.
Don't say it like that, Patrick. Oh, my goodness.
It is waiting. Suspense.
It is waiting with the second leg. Of course, next week we're going to kind of have that in between, and of course, look at what happened this week.
Yes.
So we'll have a better picture. But at the moment, I'll say Real Madrid under my breath. Let's move on to the third match. Yes. Of course, for this week, it's going to be on Wednesday. And we're going to start with Dortmund-Barcelona.
Oof.
Now,
an
intriguing one.
Very.
Intriguing one. Of course, Barcelona in La Liga have now really cemented their spot in first place in La Liga, kind of having it in their own hands at the moment. Dortmund, we know the struggles they've had.
The woes of this year have been really, really, really bad.
On the other side, though, the Champions League has been kind of like
their bright spot.
It has. It's been their salvation almost.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think this is a step too far.
Now, you're playing against Barcelona, who are red hot.
Arguably the best team in Europe.
Arguably have some of the best players in the world right now as well. Especially in Rafinha.
Oh.
Leading Champions League in goals and assists.
Mm-hmm. Lewandowski.
He's everywhere. Lewandowski. Yamal? As clinical as ever. Yamal. How can you not mention Yamal?
What a front three that is. Oh my goodness.
You don't want to play against that. Mm-mm. And unfortunately for Dortmund, I just don't think they have the capacity to handle that. That. I think Oof. I think the only way they can get... It's kind of similar to Arsenal. They have to get a result in this first leg.
Which is in Spain.
So it's not like they're even playing at home for this one. So already the possibilities of that happening and ending that game on a positive note...
Yeah.
If it was the reverse, okay, maybe get a choppy 1-0 win that they usually do, as Signal Iduna Park, and then go to Spain. But even still, that's not enough. Yeah. I feel like I think this is where the road ends for Dortmund.
I think so.
Unfortunately, they made a good run last year to the final. Didn't work out.
Yep.
I think this year it's just been a bad year on all fronts.
Yeah.
Champions League, it wasn't all that bad, but you had probably the worst draw you could get in Barcelona.
Oh yeah, I mean you did. Whoever got Barcelona in the quarterfinals, it's kind of oof.
Yeah.
And it's the same for Benfica last round. If we look at a player who might make a difference for Dortmund, are we looking at someone like Karim Adeyemi? The right?
But even so, that's not exactly like terrorizing the other opposition.
Right. No, true, true.
If I'm the other team, I'm not gonna look like, oh, it's Adeyemi. Like,
yeah. He hasn't broken out yet. Is that fair to say?
He's showing glimpses of it for sure. He's there, but he's still just 1-2 steps away from it. And the thing is, that's the bright spot. I can't think of any other player that could possibly strike fear into the hearts of Barcelona. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you look on the opposite side.
Oh my goodness.
That's, again, you don't want to play against the Barcelona team right now.
And especially given the fact that their midfield three of Gabi, Pedri, and De Jong are all fit for this. Ferran Torres, we didn't even talk about him.
And he's having a great, underrated year as well.
Absolutely, 100%. Even when Ter Stegen went down earlier in the season for Barca, we were like, ooh, this is, Iñaki Peña. But then they got Szczesny out of nowhere. And one of the weirder transfers. Absolutely, he's turned up. That could have been a potential slip-up for Barca there, but not even that has derailed them this season. And then, of course, you have the likes of Kubarsi, Araujo, right?
It goes on.
It goes on and on. From the back to front, Barcelona, I think, are the best team in Europe at the moment.
Yeah.
I would have said we would have agreed that it was Liverpool a few weeks ago. They've kind of gone off the rails a little bit. Of course, out of this Champions League, we're not even going to mention them more than what I just did now. But I think Barcelona are easily the best team in Europe.
I wouldn't be surprised if this first leg ends 3-0 Barcelona.
Wow.
Yeah. Because that's just how good they are offensively. They produce.
Yeah.
Dortmund can't do that.
No.
They really can't. So, I don't yet. Barcelona's going through.
Yeah. No real doubt in our minds for that one. Barcelona, man, they are a machine heading towards this kind of home stretch of the season.
For sure.
Where, man, I mean, Copa del Rey final against Real Madrid. Champions League.
Potentially, it's still very much a reality.
I wouldn't bet against them to make it to the final this year.
No, I wouldn't.
And it could be against Real Madrid.
It could be. What a final
La Liga's going to go to the end. Yes. My goodness, they are fighting on all fronts. Hansi Flick once again proving himself at the club level. Fourth and final one.
A very interesting matchup as well.
Yes, PSG Aston Villa. Now, David and Goliath might be a stretch because Villa, has been incredible this season under Unai Emery ever since he took over there.
For sure, he's
complete transformation.
The club,
Complete transformation. This season, though, PSG were confirmed champions of the Ligue 1. Well done. I mean, how many weeks of the season do we have left?
Unbeaten so far.
Could have given them the trophy at the start of the season.
Pretty much,
to be honest. Villa, though.
Struggling a little bit.
Can they spring a surprise? Can the new boys for Villa spring a surprise?
And think about it. This is how I like to think about it.
Yeah.
Aston Villa, they qualified top 8 in the league phase. PSG did not, right?
Absolutely.
So, Villa, I'm sure they're going to feel very, very confident that they do belong at this stage.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we made it top 8 out of 32. Or 36, sorry. PSG, they were struggling.
They were
very at the final 2 match days is when they actually got their stuff together and managed to get it to the playoff.
Yeah.
Interesting matchup against Liverpool. I didn't think it was going to go that way.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about last one. Okay.
For PSG. I didn't think it was going to go that way. Okay. Now we see a couple weeks later, they're up against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, who haven't made the Champions League since it's rebranded in '92.
And they've made it this far.
And they've made it this far. I think regardless of the result, they will be very proud with how they've done.
Yes.
But I would love to see them. Love to see them take it to PSG.
Wow.
But PSG, they have some very, very good players this year as well.
2025 has been an incredible year so far for PSG. None other than Ousmane Dembele leading that team forward.
Yes.
Oh. And then you have the likes of Barcola.
Yes.
Kvaratskhelia.
Yes.
From Napoli. Doué.
Yeah.
Another one.
Like, this is a really good PSG side.
Hugely unfortunately. Talented. It is. For Villa, it is. But then you look at Villa, and you say, okay, Watkins up top, number 9, lethal. He can be. He has to be on his game. He has
if he's on his day,
he'll score you goals. Marcus Rashford off the left, as unlikely.
An interesting transfer saga there, but he's been producing just as much.
Let me ask you that. Champions League nights, he's back under the brightest stage.
Before. We've seen him come up in those moments at United.
Is this a moment where he says, you know what, I'm back? Is this a moment where he shuts up his critics?
I think he knows that.
Yeah.
I think this is where he has to show he belongs at the highest level.
Because he hasn't been here in a while.
No.
He hasn't been here in a while. Manchester United, of course, his last few years there, they just were nowhere near it. Now he's back, and this is his time to prove himself.
I think so, and I think he knows that just as much that, I'm a big critic, I think, that he just hasn't been what everybody expected him to be.
Yep.
And Champions League, none other against, PSG, he can become a hero.
Oh, yeah.
You can be one of those players, they come into the club kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Boom, immediate impact, cement their legacy already, right?
Yeah.
He can do that for Aston Villa. If he can, over the course of these next 2 games, push them into the semifinals. Knock out PSG, a really good PSG side.
Wow.
A more dangerous PSG side than I would say from years past. Huge statement. I think he understands the implications of that.
Marco Asensio as well.
Of course.
He's been another incredible signing so far for Villa. And if we look at the season as a whole, because, of course, Rashford and Asensio came in January, the likes of Morgan Rogers has been exceptional.
Rogers, yes.
Exceptional. We look at Tielemans. We look at McGinn, always for Villa. Reliable for them. Just one lastly on PSG. Is this their best chance at winning the Champions League? For once. Can they finally get that off their back this year?
Up to this point, yes.
Okay.
Up to this point so far, it's going to be their best chance. Because, again, like how we've talked about multiple times before, it's not a team centered around individuals anymore.
No, it's not.
It's not Neymar, Messi, Mbappe PSG. It's an actual team.
It's a young, hungrier squad now.
It's a team that knows that, okay, if, they have nothing to lose, essentially. Because if PSG couldn't do it with those guys before, the pressure, I think, is off of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The pressure's off of them. This is more of a collective group.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think individually, these guys, Dembele, Asensio, they're all performing so well. Because there's none of that pressure. There's none of that spotlight stealing nothing.
Yes.
They understand that, and I think that is going to be the key if they can make it farther this year.
And it's interesting because PSG had to realize that, you know what, we made a mistake. We went with the
Too many
Galacticos.
Clashing personalities.
Yep.
Yes.
We went with the Galacticos route. It didn't work. Got to backtrack.
For sure.
And Luis Enrique, I think, has been a perfect fit for PSG.
Yes.
Kind of, getting these young players hungry and playing at the top level. And I think it's going to be necessary to beat Villa. I really do think so. Against Liverpool, it was a statement 2 games.
Yes.
Just completely outplayed Liverpool. For the first time, I think we can say that, when we look at Liverpool, I think it's the first time you can say they've been outplayed this year.
Oh, yeah.
At a consistent level. Villa is not going to be easy. Villa Park's second leg, I don't think that can be understated. That place is going to be, oh my goodness. I wish I could fly to Birmingham to watch that. Unfortunately, I'll be watching Real Madrid Arsenal. But that's actually on the opposite day, so never mind. I would have been able to go.
You just got to leave in the next couple hours.
Yeah, that's okay. You know what? We'll make it work. It would have been unbelievable. Yes. I mean, we talk about Forest maybe making Champions League for next season.
They will make Champions League.
Right? You know what? You're right. They will. They will. Forget maybe. They are.
They are.
That atmosphere, man.
That's the kind of stuff you would love to see in person. You need to be there.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Who do I have going through? To be honest, I don't know. I can't give you an...
I think this one, maybe you can talk about Arsenal, Real Madrid as well in terms of an upset.
I think I'm going to lean PSG, though.
I think
I'm going to lean to PSG, but like you said, I'm like 55-45 on that. I'm leaning PSG just because it's PSG. They have that experience in Champions League. But it's also PSG.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. It could go the complete opposite way. It can become a nightmare for them.
Right.
And,
I'll say 60-40 PSG. I do think PSG are the... I hate to say heavy favorites, but I think that is what they are, if you look at it objectively. Yeah. But, man, it's going to go down to the wire.
Yeah.
All 4 of these fixtures are going to provide incredible entertainment for us in these next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. Don't forget, 3 p.m. Tuesday and Wednesday. Get those games on and don't go anywhere because those games are going to be unbelievable. But we have one more for this show, yes, Patrick, because like I said at the start, we kind of, went down memory lane and we were like, which players just annoyed us? Which players, like, what happened for you to get so bad after a transfer? We identified 5 of those and a couple honorable mentions. So you'll want to stay tuned as we, I don't know, rant about them, I guess.
We'll see. Let's analyze.
Let's see what happens. Stay tuned.
Something new, something fresh. Yeah, I'm super obsessed. Let me know when you done messing. A little that, a little this, then you put it to the test. It's all in the expression. It's a mood, it's a vibe, it's a state of mind. And now I want it more. It's a mood, it's a vibe, it's a state of mind. Okay, you got the floor. It's looking good. I kinda like that.
Alright everyone, and now we are ready for segment 3. So, like we kind of teased at the start of this episode, we're trying something new, Patrick. So, kind of went down memory lane and we were like, okay, what were some stinkers down the years that we just kind of thought to ourselves and was like, why did this happen? Or why did that player just fall off a cliff?
Yes.
We're going to start with number 5. We boiled it down to 5 with a couple honorable mentions, but we'll get to those later. Number 5, Alexis Sanchez to Manchester United from Arsenal to start the 2017-18 campaign. Now, I advocated for this one, Patrick, because let me tell you, this one broke my heart a little bit, especially as a gunner myself. An incredible 4 seasons, or let's say 3.5 seasons
166 games, 80 goals.
My goodness, man. And how many assists, by the way? Because he has to be up there. I don't know if you have that number in front of you.
I can pull it up for you.
But just an electric player. Someone who, when he came in, I believe his first game he won the Community Shield, and people kind of clown on that game, but we beat Manchester City in his first game. And, I mean, he was just a sensational signing for Arsenal, carried us alongside Mesut Ozil.
Like, think about it. 2016-2017, 51 games played, 30 goals, 15 assists.
Unbelievable.
Across
that
all
is
comps.
World class.
Wow.
And he was world class for most of the time. Yes. However, where did it go wrong? Of course, 2017-18, that was kind of the start of the demise for Arsenal. Those were not good days.
The bad years started coming in.
Those were not good days, yes. The team, of course, we had in terms of Arsenal level, when you talk about having, class teams, that goes down the list, right? Wenger leaving, Unai Emery coming in for a couple years, him ending, leaving as well. They were tumultuous times. Now, he kind of threw in the towel. He was like, I'm wasting my time here. I think that kind of started like 2017-ish. And that end of the season there was just horrendous. He just completely checked out. I think he actually left January of that year to go to Manchester United. It was a January signing. And United kind of dangled $500,000 a week in front of him, and he swiped it. He took it. It's an unforgivable one for Arsenal fans. So then, yes. What makes it worse? He goes to Manchester United for $500,000 a week, did nothing for Manchester
45
United.
45 games, 5 goals.
What are we doing?
And then from there, he goes to Inter on loan.
Yeah.
He gets signed by Inter. Then he goes to Marseille on a free. Then he goes back to Inter on a free.
And now he's at Udinese.
Then he goes back to Udinese, which is his second time there.
It is.
But, he's just been... He's not been consistent.
So I think to myself, look, man, if you would have had a little bit of patience, right, to see it out, and I understand, these players want to be at the best, at all times.
United?
That is a good point. However, I think United were before kind of like this demise now.
No, I would arguably say
it probably started around there.
That year, that United was already like in the gutters
You're
for like
right.
the last like 2 years before that.
I think it got worse so after that.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it was like definitely like the signs of like, oh, you're going down, like it's going.
But
it's going
for
bad.
me, it's just unforgivable.
Questionable, but he's just never recovered from that.
Unforgivable. It's kind of like a Robin van Persie left Arsenal, went to Manchester United. At least he won a Premier League title with Manchester United. Fair play, mate. Like, okay, fine. Again, still unforgivable. You're a snake for the rest of your life for Arsenal fans. However, for Alexis Sanchez, man, to have done that when we needed him most. Because if there was ever a player who was going to get us out of that, it was him. But no.
Well, at least we got a couple more that are worse than that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess we can move on now. Alexis Sanchez, I'm sorry, mate. I have a shirt with his name on the back.
Yes, you do.
Just to continue rambling. The first ever shirt I got with a name on the back was him. And then he did that to me. Unforgivable. He broke my heart, Patrick.
Clearly, he did.
Broke my heart.
Clearly.
Take us on to number 4.
Jack Grealish.
Ooh. That's
from
a
Aston
great
Villa
one.
to Manchester City. Really, for me, it's just the price tag. Oh my god! And the productivity.
It's just been.
Oh my god!
And I look at that situation. I think it was north of 100 million.
It was like 120.
Yeah. At Villa, he earned it. He was Villa's Superman. He was the god in Birmingham.
He was great. He was amazing.
So you think, okay, you earned the move to the best team in England, Manchester City, and then it never fit in.
No.
I think it's a classic example of not fitting in. Grealish likes to drive with the ball. Grealish likes to get fouled. That is his play.
It's very much.
That's his style of play. With Pep though, passing, 1,000 passes a game.
Then the question
it didn't fit him.
Then why?
Why move?
Why move? Like why? You know, not just on him, but also like on Guardiola. Like, why bring him in then? Like,
why identify him?
He's not that kind of player that you're looking for. He's not La Masia. You know, he's not like, you know what I'm saying? He's 100%. Not that kind of player. So Jack Grealish going to Manchester City, 154 games so far, 17 goals to show for that. You know, sure you can. I always see excuses like, oh, but he's really good at like drawing the fouls. But get out of here with that. For that price, that is criminal. They should all be jailed.
It is.
Like, that's criminal. Yeah. And this is why nobody can take these high price points seriously anymore. You know, because it's like, what are you paying for at that point? You know, that's just. I don't have much to say about it, just because I feel like it kind of tells it pretty much
on its own.
On its own. You know, sure. You know, he's still there. Obviously. Yep. Yeah. He hasn't had any crazy like experience after City, because obviously he's still there.
Yeah.
You know, like Sanchez, he's just bouncing around, and all these other guys we're going to talk about in a sec. Grealish, you know, he's got his big calves going for him. That's about it. I've never liked him as a player at City.
Okay.
At City.
Because I was going to say at Villa.
At Villa, unreal.
Electric.
Yes.
Electric.
But at City, no. Like, what
at City, I think the first year he struggled to adapt. Fine. Second year, I think was the best we saw from him, 2022-ish. And even still,
not good
if you're
enough.
looking at Premier League numbers, 5 goals, 5 assists. Right? And then they win the Champions League 2 years ago. He parties for weeks on end, comes back overweight, kind of like Pep just forgot about him. For long periods of time, he wasn't even on the bench for City. And that's kind of continued into this year. He just hasn't had...
He makes his appearances, but I don't feel like he does. What does he bring?
And like you said, for over 100 million, this is like... That is the tipping point for a lot of these signings. It's the price tag. Because you come in for 50 million, for example, comparatively. Okay, you know, you give yourself room for kind of like failure, almost in a way. But man, if you come with that on your back, you have no option.
But... It gets worse.
It gets worse.
There's worse transfers that happen. Way worse.
Let's move on from Alexis.
Top 3.
From Grealish. Top 3 time. And we're going to start with Felipe Coutinho. Philippe Coutinho. Now, at Liverpool, from 2013 to 2018.
Unreal.
One of the best players in the Premier League.
In the world.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Could have easily been part of a Premier League winning side with Liverpool, of course, the Gerrard slip.
Haunting.
An infamous moment for Liverpool, but could have easily won the Premier League, didn't happen. Makes the move to Barcelona. Now, again, ridiculous money. And this is one of those first signings where we saw that type of money be splashed around for a player. But then goes to Barca and, man, off a cliff.
Yeah, like...
Quite literally off a cliff.
Quite literally off... Never recovered from that. Never saw him again, basically.
No.
For that price point also, I don't remember how much he went for, but it was very high.
Yeah,
I remember it's one of those, that was like the gateway, like the beginning of those like really expensive, ridiculous transfers.
105 million pounds went up to 142 with all the add-ons and etc. So we're looking at 150 million.
No wonder Barcelona has so many financial struggles, because they do stuff like this. But I mean, at the time, it seemed reasonable. For Coutinho, like, oh, that's like, yes, absolutely.
Easily world-class at that time.
Absolutely. But then you just look at everything he just didn't produce. No. He really couldn't. Granted, that was also a really odd Barcelona side. They were also falling into that pit of despair for a brief time.
A weird time to move away from Liverpool.
Yes. But, man, that Barcelona squad, it was still like, okay, with Coutinho, surely they're going to...
Get better.
You're going to go far in Champions League. Yeah. You only won La Liga. Yeah. That's it. But, okay, goes to Bayern initially on loan. And then, of course, we have to think about that 8-2 against Barcelona with Bayern, with Coutinho scoring, doing work against Barcelona, right?
Showing up.
So I think that made everyone's scratch their head, like, what happened, like, him at Barcelona. So he goes to Bayern, has a decent stint there.
Sure.
Goes back to Barcelona.
Yeah. Nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere to be seen. Non-existent.
I think he played, like, something like 10 games in 2 years.
He
just doing nothing.
He just produced nothing. And then he goes to Aston Villa, which we forgot about prior to this. Completely forgot until we looked it up. Aston Villa, nothing.
Yeah.
And then from there, he goes to Qatar, Al Duhail. And then from there, Vasco da Gama in Brazil. On loan.
Yeah.
The numbers are so poor. It's like, I can't believe this is the Coutinho that we grew up watching.
So, and when he moved to Villa, now it's coming back to me.
Just like...
It seemed like, okay.
I was like, okay, that suits him. That suits him.
You're back.
Right.
Yeah? But no, he's technically still a Villa player because he's at Vasco da Gama on loan. But it's like, he could have been the OG Rashford and Asensio.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. He could have been the first of that. So imagine that, Coutinho playing well with Asensio, with Rashford right now. Imagine that.
Oh.
But the thing is, and it's not like he's only 32.
Right.
He could easily have, what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
What is it with Brazilian players specifically that this happens to?
Retired from Brazil in 2022. Again, man, like...
What a shame.
Neymar making his resurgence. I might have just spilled a little secret there. But, you know, like, he's been a part of this. And unfortunately, just kind of had too drastic of a fall off ever since leaving Liverpool. Because even if we say, okay, the Bayern stint wasn't the worst.
No.
It still wasn't.
If anything, it was like, oh, he still has the life in him. He still has life in him.
But
man,
even still, I think he was lacking.
He was
lacking. And was it the price tag? Was it too much on his shoulders? It could have been. But yeah, just one of those that it's just like so much quality, so much talent. Yeah. And unfortunately,
down the drain. Yeah. Unfortunately.
But
guess what, Edgar? It gets worse.
And I may have said the name. I may have said it accidentally.
Neymar. Oh. Specifically, though, Barcelona to PSG. Oh. Not even what came after. Barcelona to PSG. And my biggest gripe with this.
Yep.
How much did he go for? 200 million? Something like that.
North of
that. That broke open the gates for these ridiculous transfer fees. Completely destroyed the transfer market. And the thing is, he didn't want to be in the shadow of, Suarez and Messi again. But that trio was unreal.
MSN? Oh. I mean,
I hated them because they were so good.
So ridiculously good.
So, okay, so he wants to go to PSG. He wants to be in the spotlight. He wants to be the face of the team, right? He goes, but guess what? Mbappe comes in shortly after.
Yep.
And then, okay, Messi comes in shortly after. Yep. Sure, they won Ligue 1, whatever. But the real thing was, with
Champions League.
Champions League, so just like we were talking about Champions League, Neymar, Messi,
and I'm
Mbappe.
sorry, not just one. I think repetitively would have been the goal.
The goal on paper, if you have that front line, it's almost like you're gonna win everything.
Yes.
This is
$222 million in 2017.
And he spends all the time getting hurt, flopping on the ground, missing games.
I think he missed something
for that price point. That's unacceptable.
He missed something like over 80 games for PSG. I mean, that's like almost 2 full seasons.
But here's the thing: for me, that transfer from going to Barcelona, where you had everything, going from Barcelona. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you won La Liga. You won Champions League in 2015. I get it. But going from Barcelona to PSG, I think that, to me, personally, it just proved he's unserious. Because he saw the money. Yeah. He saw how easy it was going to get. Yeah. And you look at everything past PSG. He goes to Al Hilal. He plays, 5 games?
3.
3 games in 2 years. And now he's back in Brazil for Santos. And guess what? He's hurt again. He's missing all these games. He's unserious. Unserious footballer.
Al Hilal, 3 games in the league, didn't score. He scored 1 goal, and I think that was a cup game, so 7 overall games in 2 years for Neymar.
Unserious. For a player of that talent and caliber, that's sad. That's so sad. Because he easily could have been, honestly...
Top 5 in this generation?
Top 3?
Top 3?
Would have been, honestly, one of the greats.
Do you think...
If he had fulfilled that true potential.
Do you think... But I think he reached that level at Barcelona.
He could have been better, I think.
100%.
I think he could have done so much
he
more.
Reached kind of like this peak at Barcelona when he
fair enough.
He could have done all these skills on the ball and no one could take it off him, and he was...
Fair enough.
Part of that remontada team. Mm-hmm. We talk about MSN. He was part of that. Do you think it all came too quickly for him?
I mean, we just saw the talent at such a young age, right? So that's why, some people always, because of him, it's like, like Mbappe, when he was coming, it was like, he can't pull in it, he can't fizzle out mid-20s, right?
Yeah.
Now with Yamal, he can't. But the thing is, I don't sense that kind of stuff with Mbappe or Yamal, right? They're very much, they love it. They love the game. They love everything about it. Neymar, yes, he loves the game, past tense.
Oof.
But after going to PSG, I think that just showed he didn't care at that point.
So you mentioned Al Hilal. Complete, utter, robbery.
Which also opened almost the floodgates of sending these guys to Saudi Arabia, right?
Sure.
So it's like everything he does, chaos ensues.
Right. And I'm just thinking, because Al Hilal, like we said, a complete mistake on his end. Of course, again, a money situation probably. You can't say no to that.
You can't say
Unfortunately,
no.
That's the
reality. Wave that money, everybody's saying yes.
He goes back to Santos, Patrick, and it was this emotional... And the video was Pele's voice. Mm-hmm. And it's almost impossible to feel kind of like, oh, wait, is he actually back?
This is it. This is the resurgence that we need.
Because if I'm being honest, that was like, oh my goodness. Like, I almost kind of fell in love with his career again and what can be. Yes, he's still suffering injuries and this and that. But man, I mean, seeing him back in a Santos shirt surely has to at least fill him with that sense when he was 16 at Santos. He's like, man, maybe I should take this more seriously. Maybe I should, look at the 26 World Cup and make a comeback with the Brazil national team as well. Is that too wishful thinking?
I don't think it's realistic.
No?
Unfortunately, I think it's over.
Wow.
Which is, again, that sounds harsh, but it's just like he had the world in his hands, I think. He knew he did, and he made the wrong choices with it, unfortunately. And I love him. I loved him.
If you don't like Neymar, you don't love football.
Yeah, it's like, I do.
The peak of Neymar.
I'm saying all this because I wanted things to turn out so much better for him. Yeah. Because you just know he could have been even better than he already was.
But you know what? Him leaving Barca, then we talked about an awkward period for Barca that kind of came after that.
True.
Imagine if he never left.
Things would have been
What could have been unbelievable, man. But broke the world transfer record, did all this stuff, and eventually. And you see his PSG numbers?
They're not bad.
Over 80 goals in around 120
They're definitely
games.
Not bad at all.
But imagine if he would have stayed fit for the whole time. It would be a completely...
Maybe at times taking it more seriously.
Yeah, it would have been a completely different conversation.
And think about it. It kind of felt like he was more like kind of trying. And he was putting up those numbers. So imagine that. Yeah. But before we get into number one,
which is even worse, by the way.
We're going to quickly go into these honorable mentions that we feel like had to make the list. They had to make the list. So... James Rodriguez. We're going to have to go post-Madrid. This is interesting. Yeah. You know, these didn't make the top 5 just because it's like... It wasn't a particular transfer. Right. It's just what happened to them after a certain points of time.
So actually, before that...
Yes.
Let's go back to the 2014 World Cup because we're talking about...
breakout moment.
We're talking about the best player at that tournament.
Yeah.
Easily. For Colombia. Of course, they didn't go all the way.
Of course, but he showed on that level that he is the real deal.
Okay, so we cement that. That earns him a spot at Real Madrid.
Yeah, that summer.
From Monaco, makes the move to Los Blancos. My goodness, he's going to become the next, I don't know, Kaká or something like that.
Yeah.
But it went the complete opposite direction.
And the thing, first year at Madrid wasn't that bad. 46 games, it wasn't. 17 goals, 15 assists. Very, very good numbers. Yes. However, the year after, only 16 goal contributions in 32, which, that's not bad. But for James Rodriguez...
He set the bar so high.
That was a big drop-off.
It was.
And then he just didn't recover. He went to Bayern.
On loan.
And then from there, it really just slowly, we saw the decline. Mm-hmm. What exactly went wrong in that 1 year, basically?
What happened?
What had happened? And then now we see he bounced around at Everton. Very weird. He went back to Madrid after Bayern. Then he went to Everton. And then he went to Al Rayyan in Qatar. Oof. And then he went to Olympiacos in Greece.
Sao Paulo.
And now he's back. He went to Sao Paulo. He went to Vallecano.
He only spent a couple weeks there.
And then he's in Mexico, in Leon. Yeah. It's like, what happened? What happened?
So
and
weird.
This another player I feel like that just had so much potential. Could have done so much greatness.
Oh, yeah.
And he just couldn't do it.
Could not do it. All that bouncing around, it's almost like, wait, is that real or is that made up?
How will you find stability in that?
Unreal. He went... Everton, for me, is one of the weirdest ones.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, what's he doing there?
Because, Ancelotti was there, if you remember.
Yes.
Had a terrible time.
Yeah.
Only lasted a year there. But, man, James could have been one of the best number 10s of the last couple decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
He showed it. He had it. But, again, was the Real Madrid shirt too heavy? Is it as simple as that?
I think it might have got to him, unfortunately.
Of course, injuries play a role again and all this. Yeah. Because we were talking about this. At Bayern, it wasn't like it was the worst.
No, he's still very much promising. Yeah, still good enough for Bundesliga.
But again, it's just... I think that's a theme I've noticed. It's just sad.
Yeah, it's just sad.
Because all these players, they're magical.
Yeah.
At their peak, at their top of their game, they are magical. But just didn't cut it.
Then we're going to move on to Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Gareth Bale, he won everything in Europe.
He proved it
He proved it. Now,
and then golf happened.
What happened? Wales happened.
Yeah.
He won 4 Champions Leagues.
What
4
a player.
with Real Madrid.
What a player.
4. And he was a pivotal in all of them.
I remember before that at Tottenham.
Still unreal.
Yep.
Unreal player at Tottenham.
Yep.
Yes, there were some rumblings inside the camp at Real Madrid. Yeah, some things had started to fall apart in the locker room behind the scenes, which paved way to a loan move back to Tottenham, who, to be fair, he still contributed. And then,
he did contribute?
He did.
I feel like it was an emotional move more than anything.
No, yeah.
It was kind of like, hey, you want to come back for a year?
Kind of just like rejuvenate yourself.
Try to romanticize this, kind of take... all the eyes off of the bad PR he had at the end of his Real Madrid move.
And it's not like it was a whole welcoming story either, because this is COVID Tottenham, so it's not like it was necessarily a good team
really
either.
Weird.
He goes back to Madrid, only plays 7 games.
Yeah.
And then he kind of vanishes for a little bit.
Yeah.
Goes to LAFC.
LAFC?
Plays a handful of games.
Yeah.
didn't really do anything until
really.
the MLS Cup final where he scores the header against Philadelphia Union, ties the game at the end of extra time.
In the most Gareth Bale way possible.
Gareth Bale way possible. Yep. That's how he makes his emergence on his last ever professional game.
Yep.
Scores the equalizing goal. LAFC win MLS Cup 2022. And then he retired.
Wrap it up.
I mean, to be fair, again, he's won everything in Europe.
He did.
Can you really complain? No, I'm sure he's happy with good things. Have maybe lasted a little bit longer, gone a little bit. Sure,
100%.
But it's just a sudden fall off from Madrid is like that was the real question mark.
It was. It really was.
But he will always be one of my favorite wingers forever.
Electric.
Forever.
That goal where he ran off the pitch in the Copa del Rey, that will forever be one of the most famous goals of this century. But yeah,
his bicycle kick. Against Liverpool.
Come on.
How can you say no to that?
Ridiculous. But then and for Wales, the best Welsh player ever.
He dragged Wales. Dragged Wales into a great Euros in 2016.
Euros.
Dragged them into the World Cup in 2020. I'm sure he's happy. I'm sure he's proud. He can golf all he wants now. I don't care. He did it all.
He did it all.
You can't complain.
But the drop off was
just
questionable.
So very sudden, very like, whoa, like this is Bale?
Yeah.
Like what happened? You know?
Yeah.
But,
100%.
Yeah.
But one that trumps all of this, and I'm sure we've left so many out. We would go on for 10 hours if we were to talk all of them, is
Eden Hazard.
Oh my.
Chelsea to Real Madrid. What went wrong? This was just like we saw how good he was in that 2018 World Cup. We saw how good he was that it earned him a move to Real Madrid. We saw how dangerous, how unreal he was at Chelsea, terrorizing the opposition for years.
For years.
And he goes to Real Madrid, and we never see him again. Never. Overweight. Like, he shows up overweight. He's never fit.
So,
he doesn't play. He doesn't do anything on the ball. What happened?
Lost for words, first of all. What bugs me the most is that, like, yeah, you earned your move to Real Madrid finally, and now you're going to drop the ball?
And this is like where it's almost like, oh, he's only going to get better.
Oh,
it was like, we haven't even seen the best of him. Clearly we did.
We did?
Because he did absolutely nothing.
Nothing at Real Madrid.
And Hazard is always going to be one of my favorite wingers.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, he literally did nothing. And I would say he's done less than Grealish has at City.
Oh,
he's done less than all of these players have done at their respective teams.
This is Neymar al-Hilal level.
Yeah.
It really is.
Like, sure, yeah, he made some more appearances, but he didn't do anything. He did absolutely nothing. 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 I've said that probably like 10 times already, but nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's like a player of that caliber. How do you drop the ball like that? Sure, we saw inklings of changes going on with all these other players we mentioned. Sure, they make them move. Okay, we slowly see that trend, right? But Hazard, he's just going up, 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 and then it's literally just straight down, and it never went back up.
And there's no gradual decline.
No, it literally just he hits rock bottom immediately. And he never.
Well, so he got to Real Madrid overweight. He started. I can't remember if it was the Euros or the World Cup for Belgium overweight.
Yeah, just post 2018, different Hazard.
And again, shame because as an Arsenal fan, I can attest to that more than anything. He was unplayable.
Yeah,
unplayable,
unreal.
Week in, week out for Chelsea under Mourinho, under Conte, winning the Premier League.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was one of the most deadliest forwards in the whole world for years on end.
Finally gets the attention of Real Madrid. Finally, makes the move, and then the most goals he scored in a season was 4.
For Hazard?
For Real Madrid,
for
4.
For Hazard. And this is a guy that's putting up well over 20 goals in a season for Chelsea.
Yeah.
He drags Belgium, unfortunately, to the 3rd place. Couldn't make the final. But he helped lead Belgium to that 3rd place match. And then what happened at Madrid? You would have thought he would have been the perfect fit for Madrid.
Oh, yeah.
His pace, his skill.
Come
unreal.
on.
What
happened?
Wrong? That's how, that's all we can say because that's just,
it's a mystery. It's a mystery. It really is. And I would love for all these players to kind of like, open up about it. What happened?
I'm sure we will in years.
It takes time because
for sure. I'm
they
sure
know it more than anyone else.
Of course.
That,
but you look at the stats, you look at not even just watch them with your own eyes on TV. It's like they didn't even care.
What happened?
That
is the question. That is going to be the title of this episode. What happened?
What happened?
Of this segment, actually. Yeah. What happened?
But man, I don't think I can name anybody worse than that.
No, I think
we got the ones that everybody has to think about.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? Eden Hazard, the worst transfer in football history? That's not a hyperbole.
No.
That's not an exaggeration. No. He may actually have been the worst transfer in history, and Chelsea got a bag for him, and they will be happy as days because he played at the top of his level. He gave everything for Chelsea, and then Real Madrid will be wondering, my gosh, what could we have done with that money differently, right? But, well, let's stop it there, Patrick, because if not, we would we'll forget to eat lunch. We'll forget to eat dinner talking about this. Yes. My goodness. What an incredible episode. Yes. A very fun segment to finish this episode off. Podcast coming later in the week. A very special episode next week because it's about to be a month away from the USL 2 season. Yes. Quite unbelievable. So you want to stay tuned. But hopefully you enjoyed this one. Leave your thoughts down below. But of course, share, like, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff for the NONA Sportscast. We keep growing week by week here. But from Patrick, from myself, from the NONA studio, that's it for this week. See you soon.